The network is an opportunity to connect the 12 research chairs on forced displacement that are funded by IDRC, from Peru to Thailand. Each chair has their own program. The network is an opportunity to connect and amplify the work of these chairs. We're in year 3 of the project. Year 1 was connecting the chairs and getting to know each other. Year 2 was setting our priorities in gaining visibility for the chairs on a global platform and connecting the chairs in terms of the areas of focus in their work. Year 3 was in bringing together the diverse perspectives of the chairs to say, where can we have collective impact? How can we make the collective work of the chairs visible in regional and global settings? And how can we chart a new path from the knowledge of the chairs in transforming the field of refugee and forced migration studies?
This was the year of implementation for the network. We focused on 3 priority areas of work this year. Number 1 was increased visibility of the chairs and their work. This was done through organizing different events at both regional and global level, by using our social media platforms and other mediums to amplify their work at global level. Number 2 was increased collaboration between and among the chairs. The main focus of year 3 was to increase cross-regional collaborations between the chairs, and this was done by organizing a webinar series where they engaged in discussions with high-level policymakers. Second was cross-regional research collaborations that were done by the chairs and supported by the network's seed grant funding. And third was publications and knowledge productions. And one of the highlights of this knowledge production was the beginning of an edited volume where all chairs are contributing along with taking young emerging scholars in the field of forced displacement. Third was coordination. We focused on a strategic work plan that would help the chairs to maximize their work efforts, to make sure that all the events and the activities that were part of year 3 work plan was executed to its fullest. In the end, the year 3 activities were able to achieve all its goals and objectives and probably some more.
The year 3 is the year to come together and implement. This is the year where we are gelling together as a team. And now we are in the process of understanding each other. And this is not just an interpersonal relationship. It is also to do with the paradigmatic shift in this whole course of refugee studies, where before we would be dictated by the northern scholars and told us, what we need to do. Now, as a team, we have the strength to bring our own agenda, to bring our own keywords, to bring our own questions. And I think there can be no other greater achievement than that.
The major achievements were collaborative research, like with the Peru chair on e-mobility, the webinars, several webinars that network was running in which I was part as panelist as well as participant. And the other is international conference AA was running. The network members were well engaged.
The network has been extremely rich, both on the personal and professional level. I had the pleasure to get to know all what different colleagues across different regions are working on. I've also had the chance to collaborate with a few of them. I've also had the chance to put together seed funding to do collaborative research with a research chair from Lebanon, where we're looking at the issue of sea crossing and migration decision-making.
Well, when I reflect on this journey of the research chair, 3 years, I see a gelling of the network. I see greater collaboration between the chairs across 5 different regions. I see a new way of working that takes into consideration comparative perspectives and comparative learning. And I see a new way of thinking about policy engagement that is really focused in this context of the network of research chairs on regional and sub-regional mechanisms for policy spaces.
Probably the greatest challenge is the challenge of time, that the coordination and collective work of the chairs network requires a significant investment of time from the chairs themselves and the time of those working to support the chairs. Of course, there are challenges of time zones, of languages, but the goodwill of the chairs have enabled us to find ways to overcome those challenges. But these core challenges of time, resources, and sustaining a shared common vision, these are challenges that we continue to face and that we continue to work through.
The one challenge which really bothers me is the political situation. Right now, the resurgence, and I'm being very honest about it, the resurgence of conservatism, right-wing movement is very frustrating because refugees are now constantly being criminalized. So working on them have suddenly lost its legitimacy. You yourself are perceived of as a threat.
So the challenge in year 4 will be, how do we consolidate the work that we've done to be able to produce work that has lasting value, like an edited collection, like the webinar series and the policy briefs that come from that, but then to be able to mobilize that knowledge at a time where funding for global refugee responses has collapsed, at a time where political will for innovation is challenged.
By the end of year 3, it was very evident that chairs had come together on the network platform as a collective, as a community, in solidarity. And we had a series of consultations with the chairs to understand what worked in year 3 and what were the concerns and what they looked forward in the final year of the network's work. And one thing was very clear, that sustainability became not only a concern, but actually more than concern, it was a hope, because they realized that sustaining the network was beneficial not only for the Global South Collective, but also the impact it will have in the field of forced displacement.
There are many ways to assess the sustainability of the network of 12 research chairs. One of them is to look, for example, at the role and function of universities and how do they mentor and teach a younger generation of scholars. Do they teach them in a way that they are able to learn comparatively about experiences in other regions? Another part of sustainability is to actually understand that academic research is not research that sits nicely on a shelf. It's research that is engaged. Universities should and must become a space of connection between communities and lived experiences of displacement and policy engagement and policy spaces.
I think it's very important for the network to sustain beyond, and I see it with the recent school of thought that we have established, because that helps to keep producing the knowledge and monitoring the progress in the knowledge and informing the policymakers. That's one. But secondly, the training, especially to the young scholars, and we have prepared a master's program, so I see it advancing in these two ways. One, the school of thought, but also second, in the teaching of programs that will stay there for a long time.
Es muy importante que este proyecto sea apoyado por las 12 cátedras del Sur Global, porque cada una de las regiones tiene algo que decir y mucho que contribuir al conocimiento que se está generando desde la región del Sur Global para un conocimiento más global que esté discutiendo o dialogando con el norte global.
The future of the network is very bright because we are coming from those parts of the world where we believe in communities, where we believe in relationships. So the network now is not just a network of merely 12 scholars. It is a network of 12 thought processes, 12 ambitions, 12 insecurities, 12 understandings, and it is also a network of 12 friendships.
25 years ago, it was recognized that global North actors dominated the field of refugee and forced migration studies. And through this domination, that they silence the perspective of those most affected by displacement. What we've been able to do with the individual chairs and with the network of research chairs is demonstrate that there's a possible alternate future. At a time when displacement levels are greater than they've ever been, when support for the current institutions of the global refugee regime are crumbling, it is essential that we reimagine how knowledge can create better responses for those who've experienced displacement. Knowledge that comes from those who've been most affected by displacement themselves. Through the network, there's an opportunity to reimagine future responses. We have to seize that opportunity with both hands and ensure that we take this moment to move beyond the theory of localized knowledge to demonstrate and embrace its substantive value, to make solutions with and for those who've been displaced more reliable, more sustainable, and more viable.